Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is the PAT 7.5 rundown. And joining me today is actually a Korean Challenger player who is fluent in English. You might have seen me tweet out about him before. Sometimes he streams on Twitch. Samsung, it's actually his name. We're going to be going down the rundown. We're going to talk about competitive and solo queue and what it means. And this patch, I already looked over it a little bit. It's actually pretty interesting. It's not the nerf down that we had previously. And so I'm pretty excited to talk about some of these changes. So first up is Aatrox. This is a champion that, there's not even enough people playing him in Korea for OPGG to have data on him. So I think that says enough about where he was at before. But updated passive Bloodwell, cooldown 225 to 150 scaling at levels 1 through 18 now. Previously 1 through 16, and now it's 180 to 120 at 1 through 18. So this is really, really big in terms of a cooldown and what that can actually mean for the champion, especially because basically he doesn't really have stuff that would offer him into competitive play. He has some solo queue redeeming aspects, right? Like the split push, the resurrection and stuff. And Jesus, I sound like I'm talking about Jesus Christ, but the champion was pretty fucking bad. But anyways, let's take a look at this. Q Dark Flight, 10% current health is removed. So it no longer costs current health. Base damage 70 to 250 scaling with a 0.6 bonus, 0.6, right? Or 1.6 bonus attack damage to 10 to 120, 1.1 total attack damage. So I feel like that's probably going to be a buff in most regards with how he's going to be itemized, right? Like, relative to some of his other, he has a percent missing health, right? So hold on, we're going to talk about his Q in a second. W changes to Bloodthirst. So heal is 20 to 40 scaling plus 0.25 bonus attack damage to 30 to 90 plus 5% missing health. That's really big.
Yeah, so he went from like a one-on-one duel into kind of like a sustained tank.
Yeah. Like a sustained tanky, like Fiora? Or something, right? Yeah. Because he has that resurrection. Okay. And the cost, it used to cost health, no longer costs any health. Damage 30, previously 60 to 200 plus 1.0 bonus attack damage to 30 to 150, 0.7 bonus attack damage. So if we're thinking about how he's going to be itemized, right? I guess one of the Hydras, right? One of the Hydras, and then he'll probably still have his Blade of the Ruin King or something. I can't see him having other items off the top of my head. I don't think he's going to have like lethality or any of those items at all. He's not going to go Yumu's. Can you think of anything else for him? Right? Maybe Death Stance? I don't even know. I don't even think it would really be necessary, right?
Yeah, I think he should build more tanky now because he's more kind of like a stabilized.
Titanic would probably be fine.
Yeah, Titanic would be better than Hydra,
I
think.
Yeah, I think Titanic would be better than Hydra. So like Titanic Bork, that's pretty scary because he'll shred tanks and then he can keep up with them, right?
And he doesn't really need much heal anymore because his
spells don't cost health anymore. So his healing is going to be absolutely bonkers. Okay, and now E, Blades of Torment, 5% current health to 30 health. So that's going to be probably a buff in most cases, right? Because he's going to be building a lot of HP, and he's going to have a lot of tankiness. Damage 75 to 215 with an AP and bonus attack damage ratio to 70 to 230 plus 0.7 bonus attack damage. So Aatrox was never building AP before. So no matter how you look at this, the bonus attack damage ratio is going to be a buff. The base damage is going to be a buff. And the damage converted to physical, that's going to be a buff. Slow potency, 40% to 30 to 50. The 10% loss early on isn't going to affect him inside of trades. Like, not because of the way that he uses the spell, it's not going to affect him. The slow duration, going from 1.75 to 2.75 seconds, scaling to 2 seconds at all ranks. I feel like that's pretty fair. Yeah. And it's not going to affect him again. In his split push, this would only, I guess, impact his team fighting, right? But the way that I'm thinking about him is he's going to coordinate much like a Fiora. Like, if he comes to a team fight, it's going to be more so to clean up or be a sustained, like, pseudo-tank sort of a thing, and this type of thing is not going to impact him. And then look at all the passives that we're not talking about. Now fills 20% with Bloodwell on cast, now fills 20%, now fills 20%. This guy is going to be a monster late game with a 2-minute passive. That is so fucking obnoxious. Because with like late game death timers, 50, 60 seconds, you're going to kill him, he's going to resurrect, you're going to kill him again, and then after he resurrects, once he begins his split push again, it's almost back up. Mm-hmm. That's so obnoxious once this guy has like Guardian Angel or something. Aatrox might actually become a real champion. And I think that that's actually really, really interesting. And now with all the percentage current health not costing anything, do you think he can be a jungler?
Maybe.
Yeah, he might potentially be able to go into the jungle. Especially because, like, his on-hit stuff, right? That's his W. Mm-hmm. He can't reliably proc that in lane all the time.
Yeah.
Right? But he can reliably proc it, I guess, inside of the jungle. Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm really interested about Aatrox. Now I have to play him later, Sam. How do you...
He still doesn't have...
Stop. He has it all. For the blood god, Sam. All right, Fizz. What were you going to say?
That he still doesn't have any, like, game-changing skills, so I don't think he'll be eligible for competitive yet. But for solo queue, I think he's going to appear more often.
I think he's only eligible for competitive depending on like how big the Bork changes affect him, and then what these changes really mean when it stacks up against other champions, like in a duelist sense, right?
We'll have to find out.
Because like Fiora is missing right now. She's like not in the game, and there needs to be an answer to like the tank shredders. That's not Camille, Renekton, or Jace or something up in top. And so this might be a potential like middle ground because like Trundle doesn't exist. And Fiora is missing, so it's whatever. Okay, Fizz. QAP ratio up, W bleed duration down, Mark duration up, R pickup radius at the end of the travel distance reduced, whiffed fishes can no longer be picked up. So Urchin Strike AP ratio is 0.35 to 0.55. That's a really nice buff. 0.2 AP. So when you think about, Fizz going up to 600, 700, 800 AP, that's a really big deal. WC some Trident, 4 seconds to 3 seconds, total damage unchanged. So this says that total damage is unchanged, but what they're not mentioning is that the bleed ticks against your magic resist each time. So because it's going to be ticking less times, it's not going to be hit, so the damage is actually buffed. Right? I'm thinking correct, right, on that?
I think so.
Right? So that's going to be interesting. Mark duration 4 seconds to 6 seconds. This definitely opens up a little bit more of a duelist sense from Fizz. And I had always theorized that maybe Fizz could go top lane as like an AP tank, right? Like AP off tank or something. And I think that these sort of changes fall more in line with that. I think in mid lane it's not really viable for Fizz to exist, especially not when you factor in that the Chum of the Waters just got completely gutted in terms of its hitbox. Fizz in a competitive sense can't really win against any of the current mid champions. But up in top lane, there's a lot of tanks right now, and Fizz might have potency to be, again, an off-tank AP tank shredder at the end of the day. In solo queue, obviously, Fizz has always been good as like a pub stomper. If you're good at the game. If you're not, then what ends up happening is like you abuse Fizz's damage and the fact that no one really knows how to punish her, and then eventually you hit a point where you're like 9 kills, 2 deaths or something, but then you don't really know how to coordinate with Fizz in team fights. This happens in like silver, gold, etc. And then at the end of the game, you're like 9, 9, and 7, and you lost because you don't know what to do. But these buffs, no matter how you look at it, they're going to help Fizz. Kindred. Passive jungle marks, mark rules updated to be more favorable for Kindred. Okay, Wolf marking after 70 seconds to 50 seconds of having no active jungle mark. Wolf marks an enemy jungler for 5 minutes to 3 minutes, so she's going to have to move around the map faster. But I think that with the changes that happened earlier with the increased duration to respawn, this is fine. Like, because she is just running around the map a lot. Bigger prey. Possible camps for Wolf jungle marks have been updated based on how many stacks Kindred currently has. At the indicated number on stacks, Wolves can mark Rift Scuttler, Crimson Raptor, 0, 1, 2 stacks. Rift Scuttler with 0 stacks. That's really cool. That's actually really nice. Second tier, Crimson Raptor, Gromp, Ancient Krug, Gritter Merkwool, 3, 4 stacks. Rift Scuttler, Crimson Raptor, Gromp with 1, 2, 3 stacks. So she's getting a lot of maneuverability granted to her through the jungle. Third tier, Red Brambleback, Blue Sentinel, Rift Herald, Elemental Drakes with 5, 6 stacks. Red, so all of those with 4, 5, 6, 7, and the Greater Merkwool. So this is actually all really good, like movement patterns, but I don't think it's enough to actually bring her back.
Yeah.
The stacks getting buffed and stuff doesn't change the fact that the current... In theory, she would fit very well with the current top lane meta and the current mid lane meta, and even the current bot lane meta to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
With some of the supports and AD carries. But the problem is that her damage removal and then the change to the Wraith camps and the Golem camps that happened indirectly hit her. And then in addition to that, the itemization changes hurt her. Although I didn't really look into if the new changes to the Blade of the Ruin King would substitute the damage, but I don't think that it impacts her early clears.
And that she loses to basically any meta jungler.
Right, so something I was actually thinking about the new Blade of the Ruin King is like the Callista changes that hurt her. I think the damage is made up. Because she already goes excess in attack speed, right, with how she itemizes. So maybe it's like made up for, and that's something that can be looked at as an inadvertent buff. But okay, so you still think Kindred's trash, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not viable yet.
Not viable. Yeah. That's better. LeBlanc, W damage reduced, Q deals more damage to minions. LeBlanc is one of the strongest champions right now in the right hands, and despite her trips to the patch notes this season, she's still one of the most contested champions. Really care on what it is we want the Deceiver to be doing, using the split-second confusion of clone gameplay. Look, that doesn't impact anyone with a brain, okay? To avoid retaliation until her target is dead and she's jumped back to safety, deceiving people. How do you feel about this? So LeBlanc, there's suddenly 2 LeBlancs on your screen, Sam.
It's not exactly people you get deceived by.
Oh man. These are literally, I don't even know what to say about it, to be completely honest. Like, that never tricks people. Especially because you can click on her and see that it has no items, right? Like, what the fuck? Normally we feel comfortable hitting a champion on detended strengths and giving them something back to compromise. In this case, LeBlanc has been so dominant that our priority, getting her in the line, we can investigate ways to flesh out. Okay. Q's Shadow Orb, 40 to 80%. Damage to minions. So they made it easier for her to CS. W Distortion, 85 to 225 scaling to 0.6 or 0.6 ability power to 40 to 100 scaling, 0.2 ability power.
So she does no damage with W anymore, basically.
She does absolutely none. Mimic, 125 to 325 scaling, 0.5 ability power to 60 to 180 to 0.3.
Got it by half.
So this with the previous changes, she might have just actually been hit too hard.
Yeah, even for solo queue.
Even for solo queue, I think that she was probably just hit too hard. I don't think that what her kit is valuable. I don't think that there's any way to say otherwise, right? Like the long distance chain, she has so much mobility, she's gank immune. She has wave clear. She has really good itemization paths. She has some relatively okay matchups, but the problem is that she's sort of a beater now in a sense without the it's like Syndra, right? We were talking earlier how Syndra's actually bad, and people don't realize that she's bad because she's only bad if your opponents are really good and the opponent's team is really good at stopping her, at least in competitive, right? In solo queue, Syndra's always going to be fucking good because QR. But like LeBlanc, I think that the nerfs that they just did to her really overshot it. It's not to say that she might not sometimes get picked up, but the fact of the matter is that even the previously busted version of LeBlanc did sometimes still lose, not just in solo queue, but also in competitive. For instance, we saw Samsung actually beat it, Crown beat it in lane. And then we also saw it lose again. It obviously also had 2 absolutely horrific games where it absolutely just dumpstered the opponent in LCK, but it's not something that I think that this nerfs, in addition to the previous nerfs, needed to come out in order to hit. I think that there was a lot of other ways to approach it, and I'm worried that this actually overshot it.
It's too much.
It's too much, yeah. It's way too much. This is like a Kosadin-esque nerf, where you're just like, bye. Never to be seen again for 2 years. Occasionally gets picked up. Lucian, Q and W are smoother to cast. Cast time 0.35 seconds, 0.4 to 0.25 scaling. So that actually hurts him early on, right?
Yeah.
That hurts him early on. And Ardent Blaze, 0.3 seconds to 0.25 seconds. So his combo, couldn't you animation cancel him though? There was a way, right? To do an animation cancel?
Kind of, but it's still kind of like
I don't even remember who this guy is, so we don't talk about him. He doesn't get picked here, all right? This doesn't change anything. This does not make why he's bad. They need to give him his range back.
Yeah, the range is.
They need to give him his range back. Especially because even in the current meta, I think even if you give him his range back, he doesn't come back. Not 100% of the time.
Well, I think it's still viable in solo queue because of with all the lethality items, you just go press R in team fights and deal like 3k damage.
Where do you get the attack speed? Bork?
You don't
even need it. You just
go... you just press R.
I'm sorry, I don't play him. I don't see him either. Okay, yeah. Sam, I don't know about these things, but really, you just go lethality items and press R.
3 lethality items and press R, and you deal like 3 to 4k damage. But you don't do any like auto damage.
Okay.
It's just pure.
Well, that's feel bad. Well, you have 40% CR, right?
This is another champion that does the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Misfortune. Q bounce now has the same damage and ratios as the first hit. If the first hit kills the target, the bounce now crits instead of dealing 50% increased damage. Q base damage 40 to 160 scaling to 20 to 80. So it got put in half. Bounce total AD ratio 100 to 85% matching the first hit. Bounce AP ratio gutted, which doesn't build AP anyway. Removed mini crit. Bounces no longer do 50% increased damage when the first hit kills a target. Real crit. Now bounces can critically strike and always critically strike when the first hit kills a target. Damage is affected by crit multipliers. So she has like eye edge and stuff. She's never going to be a crit based ADC. It just doesn't make any sense. She's always going to be a standstill, stationary Gatling gun. Whether it be Black Cleaver and lethality items or all lethality items without Black Cleaver. I mean, that's just how she's meant to play. Yeah. I don't think that she ever really puts on the role of eye edge static Shiv.
She doesn't really auto much.
She doesn't, yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So, do you think there's any merit to like eye edge static Shiv builds?
No, not much.
Okay. Alright, Rengar. Base armor down, W monster damage conversion to gray health down. This isn't a needless nerf. Rengar is getting more and more solved. He doesn't have proper terrain scaling. Yes, he does have blasting plants that can help him, but as solo queue evolves and as competitive evolves, stuff like that gets worked around. He has a lot of bad matchups right now. I think that the change to his W actually put him in line with being relatively fair, and I think that his existence in the current meta is also a byproduct of other champions and not necessarily entirely by himself, because it's obvious that he's not a complete versus all jungler in terms of like his versatility relative to, like, say, Lee Sin, Lee, or Graves, right? Do you have anything to add on that? I don't think these nerfs are necessary. I don't think that removing almost 4 armor from him...
Weak against Graves, weak against Kha'Zix.
Because, I mean, these nerfs also directly hit some of his bad matchups as well. Like, they're letting them deal more damage to him. His sustain got hit, which is ultimately going to affect some of his roots. I don't feel like this nerf was really needed. This is a very sad nerf that doesn't need to happen. Rise. W duration reduced. E cooldown now scales with ability level, okay? W Rune Prison. 1 second to 0.75 seconds. That's not the end of the world, because if Rise is going into root you, it's going to do a trade. He doesn't care about the 0.25 seconds. If he's going to go into root you because his jungler's there, they don't care about the 0.25 seconds, right? Because, you know, we come from a region where we actually land flash cocoons. And so that doesn't matter. Empowered duration unchanged, so that's fine as well, right? E spell flux, 2.25 seconds scaling, or 2.25 seconds flat, now becomes 3.25 to 2.25 seconds. I don't think this is the end of the world either, right? Because Rise, this is going to be fixed at what, level 13, right? So Rise is going to be impacted to a certain degree, but the way that he team fights up until this point, I don't think that the spell flux is going to be impactful enough, given the fact that he has to kite and stuff and use his movement speed. I feel like he's not in a position where he's just glass cannoning and throwing stuff out. You're probably more familiar with him recently than I am, though. Would you feel that's the way that he is, though? Like the nerf doesn't touch him?
Not too bad, but I think the not touching the empowered duration W is the more problem, because doesn't that mean the empowered W is still 2 seconds? That's a little too much. I think that needs to be touched rather than just the base root duration.
Right.
Because the enhanced W just like forces you to take cleanse if you're playing against Ryzen mid.
Listen, Sam, let's be honest, he needs rework.
Yeah,
It needs a rework. It's about that time of year, okay? It's time for Riot Games to give us another rise. Alright, Varus. Q deals less damage when fully charged and has a longer base cooldown, but the cooldown is partially refunded if Q detonates Blight on a charge. So Piercing Arrow, 100 to 165 total attack damage, scaling with charge duration to 100 to 150 total attack damage. So this only actually impacts Varus' late game and his mid game when he has blue buff, right? Like when the siege is, like in competitive. So this actually really hurts red side Varus in competitive. It hurts mid game whenever he has blue buff, and it hurts late game Varus. That's the only changes that it hits. Piercing Arrow's cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds, reduced by cooldown reduction if it detonates blight stacks on a champion. But the cooldown is the same as what it was at before. So no matter what, it's just a direct hit at Varus' late game where he goes into the monomune with lethality items and Deathfire, and he just literally stands in the back line and he's Legolas and just keeps shooting arrows. That's all that it is. I don't know if the 15% total attack damage off is going to change that, though. Because if he hits an Ashe, if he hits a Rise, if he hits a Jace, if he hits like any of those targets, he's still killing them in 3 arrows. Regardless.
Yeah, 15% isn't really going to matter.
It's not.
That much.
It's not enough because he's going to overkill them anyway. So at the end of the day, it's not too big of a nerf, but it's definitely going to be noticeable on tankier supports, tanks, semi-tanky mids, I guess, if those do ever end up getting picked. And obviously, I guess it will get impacted if like redemptions and stuff get used mid-fight, and if people are like healing. Zyra, along with her sweet new skin, Zyra sporting her brand new death animation. Okay. Blade of the Ruin King. Attack damage and lifesteal up, attack speed down. Active deals flat damage, no longer heals. So combined cost is now 800, total cost is 3,300. Attack damage 25 to 40, so it gets 15 AD. Attack speed 40% down to 25%, so it loses a dagger, but it gets 15 AD. So what? The trade-off, gold-wise, is fine.
Equal,
right?
I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Lifesteal 10 to 15%, I think that's good. Active damage 10% of the target's math health as physical damage to 100 magic damage. That's going to be a buff in some cases, and for the majority of others, a nerf.
Yeah, majority it's a nerf.
The majority it's a nerf. Active heal damage dealt by the heal is no longer compared to a heal. Blade of the Ruin King's passive on hit now has a minimum of 15 damage, matching Recurve Bow's on hit damage. So this is nice for some champions, most notably, right, like Ezreal. Ezreal benefits from this because he doesn't need the attack speed.
Yeah, because of his passive.
Right. He doesn't need the attack speed. Callista benefits from it because she already builds too much attack speed anyway.
Because of Luna,
Right.
Hurricane.
Vayne benefits from this, right?
Yeah.
Well, Vayne is like situationally benefits from it. It's not like 100%. Lucian is nerfed by this because he wanted the attack speed, right, for his ultimate. He doesn't really care about that 15 AD. I don't think.
I don't think it matters too much for Lucian compared to Ezreal or Callista.
Atrox likes this.
Yeah.
Atrox likes this a lot. Does Fiora ever get played? No, she never gets played. What other top laners get played? Trundle? No, he doesn't. That's really old.
Yeah.
Played.
No one ever goes Bork anymore, I think.
Kindred. Kindred likes this, right?
But no one plays Kindred.
That's true.
Who goes Bork nowadays?
Zed? Zed likes this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Zed likes this. Zed likes this. Okay.
100 flat damage for the combo.
Right,
Sweet,
right.
I think.
Zed likes this. Oh, Yasuo probably likes this, right? Situationally.
Yeah.
Situationally, Yasuo probably likes this. AD Fizz likes this, I think. Right, up in top lane. Shaco?
Maybe.
Maybe. Shaco, maybe. Evelyn, AD Evelyn, would like it, right? Because she goes Bork. Feel like that's fine. Okay. Edge of Night. Shield duration decreased. New changes. Shield duration 10 seconds to 5 seconds. I don't think that's big enough. Again, I really don't. So like one of the arguments that some people presented to me, and I acknowledge that I did not entertain at the time, is like in competitive, you turn it on, you walk up to a wave, you clear the wave, right, and it blocks you from getting hit by a spell shot or a skill shield or whatever. You can just turn it on at a better time, still walk up to the wave and accomplish the same thing.
It's gonna need some like people who are able to practice that timing. It's still
Too broken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Obviously, it impacts solo queue though. Like people can't just walk around with it as like a retard shield.
Yeah.
Attack damage 60 to 55. That doesn't matter. That's not why you get the item. Mm-hmm. That's not why you get the item at all. Active cooldown 30 seconds to 45 seconds. So the other argument here was that you can't use it as effectively to repel waves now. Which, yeah, it's nice, but the reality of the situation is you're never edge of knighting twice in a fight.
It was too broken before. Now it's just saying that it needs more practice to know how to use the item.
That's all that. Yeah, exactly. You just need to understand it more. These changes won't remove the item.
Yeah, it's still going to be used for
yeah.
talent or anything that.
Yep. Okay. Masteries. Stoneborn Pact. Bond of Stone replaced with Stoneborn Pact. Allies heal when attacking enemies you've marked with movement impairing effects. Bond of Stone feels pretty underwhelming at the moment. It's not incredibly weak per se, but its strength is pretty invisible. Okay, let's just talk about this. Stone Skin. Gain 5% max health. Gain 5% max health. Your movement impairing hey, listen. Your movement impairing effects mark enemy champions with an earthen rune that heals other allied champions who basic attack them for 5 plus 2.5% of your maximum health over 2 seconds. The marks last 4 seconds. If an enemy is marked by multiple Stoneborn Pacts, allies heal. Okay. So, right off the bat, I feel like for the first time ever, I'm going to say that Olaf is a good champion.
Does Olaf Q work as a movement impairing effect?
Yeah, slow. That's going to make Olaf fucking busted. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Olaf is now busted. Tahm Kench support. Probably. Right? This over Grasp.
Maokai.
Card to the Colossus? You're going to trade this? No.
For long team fights, I think this would... Well, we'll have to see it because this has never been out before. It's like not a slight change. It's
Tahm Kench Jungle gets buffed. Holler. What's good, baby? Tahm Kench Jungle. Skarner. Skarner got buffed.
Skarner, yeah.
Skarner got buffed by this. What else? Who else? Sejuani?
I guess, but the champion's still...
Mundo. Mundo didn't have a proper keystone before, right?
Yeah. He
didn't. Now he does. Mundo has a proper keystone. I don't think that's enough to bring Mundo back, but I'm just saying. Malphite?
Nautilus?
I
don't know about
No, Card to the Colossus with his W.
Yeah, that's...
Like, trading it, it's too good.
Yeah, people will have to, like, compare it.
Some people are probably thinking Thresh, but no. Courage is too good. Courage is way too good, I think. I think that Courage is way too good. Unless you land that sweet 5-man flay. That's that juicy 5-man. What else, though? What other champions? I feel like this is literally the Olaf fucking keystone. Mm-hmm. That's actually Olaf in the image right there. By the way, I'm just letting you know that. That's actually him. Finally, he's broken from all the fucking toxic shit I spewed at him. That's what the green is, Sam. He actually was a terrible champion.
Olaf?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah, good. Anyone with a fucking idea thinks so, too. God damn it. Anyways, I think he's actually good now. And I think this makes him come back into the meta. Because he has some pretty good matchups right now.
Yeah, against Rengar.
Yep, Rengar, Kha'Zix. Right? Doesn't he beat Kha'Zix?
Like... If he doesn't get hit first.
Right, yeah. It's a jump. It's a jump-related matchup. CC immunity good against Elise later on, right? We already know that he's relatively okay against Lee Sin. Who's starting to pop up. Yeah, he's starting to pop up again. I don't know about Graves. I think it comes down to who gets the jump first, right? Yeah. And that's entirely what it comes down to because of the way that Olaf needs to itemize. But what about Nunu? You don't think that this isn't enough to make Nunu worth it again, right? What other junglers are there that we're missing? This isn't for Ivern. Ivern does the heals or courage almost always.
Maybe Zach?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good fucking keystone for Zach. That's actually really good for Zach. That's really fucking sick for Zach. You know what that guy in Bronze 2 is thinking?
What?
Jungle Gnosis. He's gonna wither them, Sam. He's gonna wither them.
Wither them and get HP?
Yeah, and it's gonna happen to one of the fucking people that do the patch notes. Next 7.6 Gnosis nerfs. Alright, let's move on. Okay, Deathfire Touch. Bonus attack damage ratio reduced 60 to 45%. That hurts Jin really bad.
Really bad.
That hurts him so fucking bad. So let's actually talk about Warlord's Bloodlust before we talk about that. This is now an energized effect. Energized gain lifesteal and grant movement speed. Take my energy. Moving or attacking will make an attack energized. Your energized attacks have lifesteal and grant 30% movement speed for 0.75 seconds. Lifesteal at level 1, 1%. Lifesteal at level 18, 50%. Okay. Do you think Jin can take Warlord's Bloodlust?
No, not really.
Okay. I think we need to see like how often this thing can be procced though, because it didn't tell us. Like, is it like Static Shiv? You build it up to 100 and then you do it?
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, this is good for Caitlyn, Ashe, Sivir.
Any auto-based kiting champion. Like
Yeah, any auto-based kiting champion. On Lucian, you still want Fervor. On Ezreal, you still want Fervor.
Jin, you still want Deathfire Touch.
Jin, you still want Deathfire Touch. Varus, still want Deathfire Touch. That's a really... Actually, that Deathfire plus the removal, that's pretty big for Varus. That hurt. That's a feels bad man moment. This is probably for attack speed Varus. Like the kiting Varus.
Varus is mostly...
What about Twitch? What do you want on Twitch?
Twitch...
Fervor? Fervor, right?
It used to be Warlords because it was hard to sustain in lane, but now with these kind of changes, I'm not really sure.
Okay. Let's talk about the real lady carries. What about Urgot?
Real lady carries?
Alright. Listen, Sam, this is...
Deathfire Touch actually
Sam.
hurts Urgot too, huh?
There's a lot of viewers that are very concerned about this. What about Vayne?
Vayne?
Like, do you think these changes are really going to enable them to go from Silver 1 and win their Gold 5 promos? No. Why not? The patch note said it was good.
One mastery doesn't enhance your skills.
What?
Enough to...
What do you mean? I just got demoted from Gold 4 last week because they nerfed my champion. Sam, what do you know?
It's not relative to one champion or mastery.
Sam, stop it.
Okay.
Didn't you see Volibear got nerfed because he went off in a silver game once? Did you know about that?
No.
Volibear randomly showed up in a patch and he got nerfed. No one knows why. So we theorize that a Rider just had a really bad game against a Volibear.
Oh yeah, because Rider's playing in a solo queue.
Alright. Just letting you know. Just letting you know about that. Alright, let's move on. Summoner spell. Exhaust. No longer reduces attack speed or resistances. Attack speed reduction. No longer reduces target's attack speed by 30%. Resistance shed no longer reduces target's armor and magic resist by 10. So the armor and MR thing, that's actually really big because that hits Malzahar really hard. Right, when he goes for his all-in combo. I think that this potentially hits like Karma hard. I think that it hits any like AP mage support that runs exhaust pretty hard. The armor shred, especially early on. No longer reduces target's attack speed by 30%. That's kind of big. It's kind of big, but like really we're taking exhaust probably for other reasons, not necessarily just the 80 carry. Like usually we're taking this for like, I don't know, Rise, Talon or something showing up. Like
one
the support
combo
takes
assassin,
this.
yeah.
Right. But then we also at the same time already know that I think that the theorized answer to those champions is actually just becoming barrier. It's not exhaust anyway. Like Faker ran barrier, right, into Talon. Pawn's Talon, he ran barrier on Oriana.
Did he?
Yeah, he ran barrier. So I don't think that really affects it too much, but this definitely affects solo queue. Competitive, I don't think that it affects enough. I don't think that it really changes when... I mean, exhaust is still going to be picked even if it's a nerf. It's just something that actually had to be brought in line. At the end of the day, though, I think that the change that I'm most excited for is actually Atrox. Because this can, I don't know, he can be either potentially top or he could be jungle. And it depends on his clear healthiness and like...
I think because of the passive changes, like the removed health.
Yeah. Think
he'll
he's jungle?
be used. Yeah, I think he'll be more used as a jungle.
Oh,
Because he still has like brutal matchups in top.
Right. And we'll see what he can do later on. But the thing is I mean, in top lane, he does have that split push versatility, whereas in jungle, he doesn't. Right? Because you want to make use of the blood pool.
Yeah, but
The other thing is the blood well, the ability to dive turrets. That is so scary.
Yeah, that can be used as like a jungle advantage.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean by jungle. Right. I think that's pretty much it for the patch. So I think overall this was a kind of nice patch. Some of the changes don't really mean anything. Other changes just literally were too much.
Like LeBlanc.
Yeah, like LeBlanc. This is like, I don't know. You get a misdemeanor or something. This is like being sent to like life in prison without the possibility of parole for like smoking weed or something. Like I don't even know what the fuck I just read with the LeBlanc change, but I mean that's the equivalency of it. Are there any nerfs that like are missing that should have happened? Jace.
Some Graves nerfs, maybe.
Fuck you. So, what about Jace? what about Jace?
Jace, yeah.
Jace needs nerfs. Where the fuck is Jace?
Lethality needs to be touched like slightly.
It needs to be touched very slightly.
Yeah, in the numbers, like
Right.
very slight numbers.
Yep. What about up in top lane? Do you think that something should have happened to like Nautilus and stuff? Nautilus is a little bit obnoxious right now.
Not really, but I think they kind of gutted Maokai too much. Didn't they do the...
He's still pickable. He really is.
Yeah, because the champions...
Yeah, it just affects certain matchups.
Laning phase.
Right, yeah, it just affects certain matchups. But for the most part, I think everything else is actually pretty fine. So, okay. Alright, everyone, thanks for watching the patch 7.5 drawn down. You can follow Sam in the Twitter link below. Samsung. Tell everyone the story about how your name is Samsung.
I went to an English kindergarten in Korea, and I just decided to name my English name Sam, because I'm like the Uncle Sam, and my last name is Sung, so that's how I got my name Samsung. My English name, at least.
Alright, guys. See you later. Bye.
Bye.